and welcome to So You Want to Shoot a Bow. Today we're going to talk you through everything that's needed. We're going to go from taking your bow out of the box to assembly to shooting that first shot. So let's get started. First off, can I say that both bows and arrows come in a bewildering range of sizes and lengths. So I strongly recommend you go to your local archery shop or pro shop to get measured to make sure that you've got the right kit before you start shooting. So you've got your new bow, let's get it unpacked and assembled. So this is our handle, or riser as it's known. Consists of a grip where your hand goes and an arrow rest. And the fact that the arrow rest is above the grip, that lets us know that this is the top and this is the bottom limb. These are the limb bolts, and I'm just going to remove them so we can fit the limbs. Taking the limb out of the box. First thing we need to check is whether it's to go in the top of the bow or the bottom of the bow. And they're labeled up upper and lower, or top and bottom, and all the limbs have a label. So we check this label, it's the lower limb, so we know we're going in the bottom of the handle. When fitting the limbs into the handle, number one thing to check is that you've got them the right way around. You need to have the black washer pointing out from the bow, just to make sure they're sitting in there, because it is possible to fit them back to front. So we fit the limb in with the black washer facing out from the bow and secure it with the limb bolt. There we go, nice and snug. Same. Good rule, even though we know the bottom limb said lower limb, I'm just going to check, and it says upper limb, just to make sure. And again, we sit it in the handle, black washer facing out, and we secure with the limb bolt. There we go. Okay, so we've got our bow with the limbs fitted, so now we're ready to string it. If I take the string out of the box, again, the string needs to go on a particular way, so we want to make sure top of the string goes on the top of the bow. The way to tell it apart and to know that you're putting it on right is to look at the loops on the end of the string. There's a big loop and a little loop. The big loop is designed to go over the top limb, and the little loop secures on the bottom limb. So first of all, we take the big loop, just to open it up there, and we're going to go to the top limb. We know it's a top limb because the arrow rest is above the grip. So we take the big loop and we just slide it over the limb tip on the top of the bow. Then we take the small loop and securely fix it on the limb tip on the end of the bow. We just make it tight. Okay, and next we need a bow stringer. This is quite a common stringer. Most stringers will consist of a loop end and a pocket end. So we take the loop end of the stringer and place it over the top of the top limb. Then we take the pocket end and go towards the bottom limb. But we do need to check first to make sure the string is securely in the grooves on the bottom limb, which it is. And we place the pocket over the top. Then we take your right hand, if you're right-handed, and put it in the middle of the bow. Push the stringer down towards the string. Place your foot over the stringer, and we slowly take the load. And we push down on the string until it's just enough to go into the groove. We make sure it's secure in the groove, and we slowly take the weight off. So I look to make sure the string is secure in the limb tip grooves, both top and on the bottom. And then we remove the stringer. So that was how to assemble a wooden takedown bow. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a metal international fitting bow, like this one here, we'll show you how to assemble this one. I've disassembled the bow, and just like before, it's in 3 parts. We've got the riser or handle, which consists of the metal part, the limb bolts, and the grip, and then the 2 limbs. Little tip here for you. The limbs come with this metal dovetail, which has a plastic cover over the top of it, just designed so the dovetail doesn't knock into the limbs in transit and damage the bow. We need to remove this plastic cover or you're going to get stuck. There's one on the limb there and another one on here. Also, just like before, the limbs are top limb, bottom limb, so we need to look at the limb, read the label to see which one it is. This clearly states top limb. So we take the riser, go to the top of the handle, and we need to fit this. Before we drop the limb in, this time we need to slide the limb in from the end. The dovetail fits into the groove and slides in with a click. So we take the other limb, just check that it does say bottom, which it does. And again, we're going to slide it in from the bottom. And if we just listen for that reassuring click, we know the limb's home. We then fit the string and use the stringer just like before. And then we're ready to go. We've got our bows assembled and strung. Now we're going to fit the sight. We take the sight fixing block and put it over the screw holes. Take our 2 screws and a screwdriver, we'll just tighten that about halfway. Then we'll take the other screw and make sure that goes into the other hole. Now we can just tighten them down. Okay, that's that one done. That's the other. Next, we can take our sight, which already has the sight block fixed to the front. We slide that into the bow, just so we can see the fixing hole underneath. Take our sight knob and we just screw it down. Now we're ready to go shoot. This is probably the most common finger tab you're going to find. It's a plain piece of leather cut out, 2 holes for the fingers to go through, and we've got a protector here for the top finger and the 2 fingers that are below. The cutout is where the arrow sits on the string. You might be lucky enough to have a more advanced tab, like this one here. This has got a platform which securely anchors the fingers under your chin, and it's got a spacer on the back to make sure your fingers don't pinch onto the arrow. Now we'll show you how to use both of these later on. Another piece of kit we need is an arm guard. If we started shooting without one, the string is going to bang into our arm here. It's just going to make it go red and sore, so what we use is a simple device like this. Just protects the arm and stops it getting sore. This is a finger sling. When we shoot, we want to keep our bow hand relaxed, and if we shot, the bow would fall out of our hand. So basically the finger sling just slides over our finger and thumb, keeps the handle secure in our hand, and we can shoot with a relaxed bow hand without dropping the bow. Sometimes when we shoot, the string can get caught in our clothing, so what we wear is a chest guard. It gives a nice flat, consistent surface for the string to ride against, and we won't be plucking your shirt. Also, when we're shooting, we need something to carry our arrows, and that's where we have the quiver. It's also got pockets to carry your finger tab and your sling, and of course your pen for scoring. This is an arrow. It consists of the shaft, the point, the fletchings, and the nock. Things to check: make sure the point is securely fixed into the shaft, because if not, it'll go into the target, the point will fall out, and you'll lose your point. And your fletchings. Make sure they're not starting to come off, because if they start to curl up at the edges as the arrow flies through the air, it'll flap around, causes extra drag, and the arrow will go low in the target. And also, make sure your nocks are firmly glued in place, unlike this one. Arrows come in many different sizes and infinitely different lengths, so I strongly recommend you going along to your local pro shop to get measured up and fitted out with the right arrows for you. One of the potential problems, if your arrows are too short, they can fall off the arrow rest and it sticks the arrow in the back of your hand, and we don't want that. Before we go shoot, rule number 1, be safe. Wherever you live in the world, consult your national governing body's safety regulations and find somewhere safe to shoot. This is my student Dan.
Good afternoon, Michael.
Hi. He's a left-handed archer, which means he has his arm guard on his right arm, along with his finger sling, so he can keep his bow hand relaxed. The arm guard is there to protect his arm, and it's also there to keep his t-shirt out of the way, make sure it doesn't interfere with the string. Much the same as his chest guard, and he's also got a finger tab, and of course, a quiver full of arrows. To get good basic shooting form, I've got this simple 4-step method that you can do at home in front of a mirror. Step 1 is to raise the arms. Step 2 is to turn to face the target. Step 3 is to bring the hand towards the face. Now this is the full draw position. Step number 4 is upon release to move the hand towards the ear in one clean movement. A common problem I often find is people having their bow grip hand too upright. As you can see here, the knuckles are straight up. What I would like to see is the hand turned out and the knuckles at 45 degrees, which can easily be checked by the archer when you're at full draw. When we shoot, we need to stand on the shooting line, and for target archery, we straddle the shooting line as shown here. Once we're on the line, we remove the arrow from the quiver, placing it on top of the arrow rest, and we slide the arrow onto the bow, clipping it onto the string between the 2 nock points. Arrows typically have 3 fletchings, and one of those will be an odd colour, and we have the odd coloured fletching pointing out away from the handle. Place the fingers onto the string, 1 finger above and 2 below. Take a grip and just take a little bit of weight. We set the bow hand with the knuckles at 45 degrees. Face the target and slowly draw the bow. The platform tab comes in underneath the chin and the string locates in the middle of the nose. We release and the follow-through ends just beneath the ear. One bit of advice I'd like to give. as a lot of people, as they draw the bow, hook their finger over the top of the arrow. This causes pressure down onto the arrow rest, causing it to bend and quite often break, just as happened here. So truth be told, the arrow rest will securely hold the arrow anyway. It's got a hook on the end of it. You don't need to have your finger. So the arrow should sit on top of the rest and you can keep your finger down and let the rest do its job. So once we've shot our arrows, of course, we need to score them. Here we've got standard metric target face, which scores 10 points for the 2 innermost rings, followed by 9 and 8, finishing with a 1 for the outermost ring. We can see that Dan has shot here, and scoring from the highest arrow first, we have a 9, an 8, and a 6. Pulling the arrows always needs to be done carefully. If not, we can damage or break the arrow, and also from a safety point of view, we want to make sure there's no one standing behind us, because if we pull the arrow out into somebody, you can take their eye out. Right, step 1. Put your hand onto the target, flat against the target face. You bring forward with your other hand, securely grip the arrow, and just pull back. Again, always checking to make sure there's no one behind you. If you've shot your arrows and they're not in the middle of the target, we need to move our sight. My simple piece of advice is this: follow the arrows with your sight. Your arrows go low, we want to move your sight low. Arrows go high, we move the sight high. Arrows left, move the sight left. So to move our sight down, because the arrows went low, we undo the knob on the side here, move it down, retighten, shoot again to test. When it comes to moving the sight left and right, we follow those simple steps. Let's pretend that our arrows had gone left. We undo the locking knob, move the sight on the thread to the left, and then we secure again. And again, shoot and retest. When we're aiming, as well as putting the sight pin over the middle of the target, it's always best to line the string up with the edge of the sight pin. That way we've got the front and the back of the bow in the same position, shot after shot. So we've finished our shooting session, so now we need to pack the bow up. So we take our stringer just like before, we put the loop over the top limb, we put the pocket over the bottom limb. Let's get that in there, make sure that's securely over. Right hand back in the middle of the bow, hold the stringer down, under the foot, and slowly take the weight and just reach forward and just take the string off the limb tip and slide it down the limb. And then again let the weight off. And that's your bow de-strung. We can take the stringer off. So we remove the string, remove it from the bottom, and take it off the top. When your bowstring is supplied to you, it's going to have twists in it. And one of my tips for keeping those twists in place is to hook the loops through each other. So we've got our 2 loops. I take the small loop and pass it through the big loop, and then I put the big loop back through the little loop and pull it tight. That keeps your string secure, stops any twists from coming out, and that's your string. It's not going to lose any twists. We can then simply fold it up, put it in your bag. Job done. Once you've disassembled your bow, one of the things I highly recommend is a bow bag to keep your stuff all in one place, because the last thing you want is to get to the shooting range and realize you've left one of your limbs at home. I hope you've enjoyed today's production. Please look out for future titles and be safe and enjoy your shooting.